darts has seen its fair share of legends, but few shaped the sport quite like John Lowe. He wasn't loud or flashy, he didn't need to be. With quiet focus and insane accuracy, Lowe became one of the sport's true pioneers, a player who helped turn darts from a pub pastime into a global spectacle. From local halls to the world's biggest arenas, his steady hand and unmatched consistency made history again and again. Long before the bright arena lights, the cameras and the wide stages transformed the game of darts into theatre, John Lowe had been making massive waves in the sport. As a young man from Tupton, Derbyshire, all Lowe wanted was to hit his target over and over until perfection felt ordinary. He was born on July 21st, 1945, and by his late 40s, he would stand at the Oki with 3 world titles to his name. Not just that, but he would eventually emerge as the first player to hit a televised 9-dart finish in the history of the sport. But greatness, as Lowe would show, isn't measured only by trophies or records. It's felt in the impact of a true legend. You might think of legends as loud, brash characters, but Lowe's presence was the opposite. He was calm and serene, yet that calm carried a power all its own. Opponents spoke of walking into his silence and finding themselves shaken. He never needed to taunt or grin. His darts did the talking, and when he claimed his first world crown at Stoke-on-Trent in February 1979, it was more than a title. It was a statement that precision would rule the sport for decades to come. That night, John Lowe faced defending champion Leighton Rees in the World Darts Championship final. The Welshman's flair met its match in Lowe's unshakable precision. He took the first set with quiet authority, then dismantled Rees in the next 3, barely giving up a leg. Nothing beats being composed in the face of pressure. And for Lowe, his composure never faltered. In the 5th and final set, Rees fought back, but Lowe edged it and came out on top in the final by 5 sets to 0. When the final dart landed in double 6, the crowd erupted, and Old Stoneface finally claimed the world title.
No?
56 scored.
So 3 darts in his hand, John Lowe of Claycross.
John, you require 20.
Quite savouring the moment. Double 10.
Yes! Game shot!
The grin of the champion, the new champion being congratulated by the old.
With an epic transition from newcomer to a strong opponent, Lowe returned to the World Championship stage some years later to face Eric Bristow, the crafty Cockney. Bristow was the sport's first superstar, brash, confident, and gifted with the kind of scoring power that made opponents shiver. It wasn't just about Eric's confidence, his winning style was spectacular, so much so that his first meeting with John Lowe in the 1981 final led to Lowe's defeat. With everyone staring intensely to see which player would emerge the winner, Bristow piled up scores of 140 and 145, snatching a 5-3 victory.
One left.
No score.
It's been 4. Up he goes like a rocket.
This was a shattering defeat, but Lowe looked on, unshaken. He recognized that to beat Bristow, he would need to sharpen every facet of his game, mental, physical, and technical. The upcoming dart legend would go on to steal the limelight many times quietly, so he practiced. Day after day, week after week, he returned to the pub backrooms and provincial halls, throwing thousands of darts until every muscle memory was in sync. It was this determination that carried him back to the big lights, his prime years as an unbeatable force in the world of darts. This relentless practice further led him back to face Bristow again in 1987. This was the point where things got even more interesting. John Lowe was about to give Bristow the shock of his life. At the World Darts Championship final, he faced off against reigning champion Eric Bristow in a tense and closely fought match. Bristow maintained a higher scoring average throughout, 94.29 to Lowe's 90.63, but Lowe's composure and consistency ultimately prevailed. The match began with tight legs and high scores between the players. The atmosphere was tense with anxiety, not necessarily for John Lowe, because this was the moment he had worked so hard for. Midway through the match, Lowe gained a crucial edge, pulling ahead 3 sets to 1. Though Bristow fought back, Lowe held firm. He sealed a 6-4 victory, earning his second world title and ending Bristow's 3-year reign.
40, got the waiting.
Thank you. Game shot. The 1987
professional champion, John Lowe!
Prior to this time, Bristow had reigned as world champion in 1980, 1981 and 1984. In that moment, Lowe reclaimed the crown and delivered the message that consistency and calm could dethrone even the most flamboyant champion. But perhaps no moment captures Lowe's prime greatness better than the night of October 13th, 1984. It was the MFY World Match Play quarter-final against the defending champion Keith Deller, and the arena hummed with excitement. With cameras rolling and millions watching at home, Lowe stepped to the oki with the objective to make history. It was at this point that Lowe did something that transformed the sport. He carved his path with 6 perfect strikes. Lowe was the first to achieve the televised 9-dart finish.
Looks like he's going for 317s. Yes. Treble 18, his next target. Yes, he wants 2 18s for £100,000.
For the very first time on television, darts had witnessed perfection, and it was Lowe's hand that guided the moment. He walked away with a place forever in the top category of darts, his name forever etched in the history of the sport. In his own words, it was a moment that changed his life forever. "I still feel privileged to be the one to make history," he said on the 30th anniversary of his achievement. "I didn't have to think about the 141. I had rehearsed this in practice and in my head so many times." Such a massive feat. But John Lowe wasn't the only one making waves in sport. As the 1980s gave way to the 1990s, a new challenger emerged, Phil Taylor, a younger, relentless force with a scoring power that was promising. Yet Lowe had the same unshakable calm that had defined his career. He didn't want to stop at the previous titles, so he kept pushing and defeating his opponents. Before long, he got his hands on another title. This was in the 1993 World Final at Lakeside. When he played against Alan Warriner and closed out 6 sets to 3, he had become the first man to win world titles in 3 separate decades: the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s.
To finish it off. 1 dart to go. Yes, it's there. Relief, John Lowe, the 1994 Embassy World Champion. What a great victory.
Truly, Lowe's margin for greatness never reduced, and yet for all his precision, he never forgot the human side of the sport. After his win in 1979, he paused at the edge of the stage and shook Evans's hand, eyes meeting in mutual respect. After the 9-darter, he raised his hand to the roar and gave a small nod. No wild gestures, just a humble acknowledgement that he and the game had shared something extraordinary. Transitioning between peaks, Lowe never lurched into complacency. He made changes to his grip in the early 80s to counter fatigue, then experimented with board height adjustments to minimize misses under glare. Some players chased trophies, others shaped the future. John Lowe did both. By 1992, when darts faced its great divide, Lowe stood among the 16 players who took a stand. Frustrated by the BDO's lack of televised events and professional growth, they broke away to form what would become the PDC, a bold, uncertain move that would forever alter the sport. It wasn't an easy decision. It meant legal battles, financial risks, and the wrath of the old guard. But Lowe believed darts deserved more, a bigger stage, better treatment for players, and a true professional era. Lowe didn't just defend his own career, he helped forge a new path for generations to come. Because true loyalty doesn't mean staying put, it means standing up for what the game could be. By 2003, after more than 2 decades at the highest level, Lowe stepped back from full-time competition. He became ambassador and mentor, carrying his ethos to exhibitions across Europe, Asia and Australia.
This was the world's #1 darts player John Lowe in action during his own Russian Revolution. John was in Moscow heading a sales bid by a Croydon firm to introduce the traditional British pastime of darts to the Russians. And all the usual liquid training appears to have paid off. The company has landed a £1 million contract.
He taught rising stars how to stand with steady feet, release with quiet confidence, and practice until the board became an extension of their own will. In his prime, John Lowe wasn't just good, he became a standard against which other players would be measured. He was the skilled player who made precision an art form, and a man who proved that consistency was not just a trait but a weapon. Lowe showed the world that darts could be more than a pastime. And while John Lowe mastered the sport with calm and brilliance, his greatest rival electrified it with fire, swagger, and a relentless will to win. If Lowe was the still water of darts, Eric Bristow was the roaring flame. Their clashes helped define an era, but Bristow's story, his dominance, and the legacy he left behind deserve a spotlight of their own. So let's take a look at how good Eric Bristow really was in his prime.